Hello and welcome to this week's Fact Friday. And today, for the first time, I'm joined by two guests in Helen Stonham and Signe Sparne from our commercial property team. So, on to our first question today for you, Signe, which is there's been a lot of media coverage about climate change, and the Prime Minister has promised to cut emissions by 68% by 2030. How do commercial buildings achieve greater energy efficiency?
So we are seeing a general movement towards greater energy efficiency in buildings over the recent years because of government emission targets, as well as general concerns about climate change and the significant contribution of buildings to carbon emissions. A way a commercial building can achieve greater energy efficiency is to assess a commercial building's carbon footprint. Now, this is done by taking a look at the how energy efficient a commercial building is by way of an energy performance certificate or an EPC. An EPC grades the building on a scale, and the minimum rating must be E or above. This is a legal requirement if you are a landlord and plan to rent or sell a business property. I can foresee that as a result of the government's carbon emission targets, we are likely to see commercial buildings increasing their minimum energy efficiency levels before a building can be let.
Fantastic. On to our second question for you today, Signe, which is what are the practical points to consider when thinking about EPCs?
Forward planning is really essential. If a commercial building does not comply with energy regulations, then a landlord cannot let the property or sell it and could face a potential penalty. Budgeting for the costs as well that might be involved in making the building energy efficient. So the landlord spending money on improving the building, they may wish to consider a way to recover the costs, such as increasing the rent that the tenant pays. Also, ensuring that any landlord's works are not disruptive to the tenant is important, because the tenant will want their business to carry on operating as usual.
Excellent, Signe. Thank you very much. Helen, on to the questions for yourself. So we start it off with what could potentially be changing in residential leasehold law?
Yeah, so in January, the government announced proposals to change leasehold law in this country, setting out proposals to allow leaseholders to extend their lease on a house or a flat by 990 years and to reduce the ground rent down to zero. Currently, leaseholders of flats are entitled to extend their leases by 90 years with the same ground rent reduction. The government has set out proposals to place caps on ground rents when leaseholders extend their leases or purchase the freehold as well. Currently, leaseholders have to pay a premium to the landlord when they want to extend their lease, and although this won't change under the new proposals, the government has announced plans to change how the premium will be calculated.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Now, our second and final question for you, Helen, is what should leaseholders considering a lease extension do?
So, although the government's announcement was initially headline grabbing, it was unfortunately short on any details or timings. At the moment, all we have is a package of potential reforms that have been announced, but with very little detail as to how wide the changes may go. In particular, the government hasn't released any great detail about how the new premiums will be calculated, which will be on most leaseholders' minds. There is a chance that leaseholders could extend their leases now and then discover that had they waited for the law to change, they could have paid less of a premium. Equally, there could be some leaseholders who hold off and the law may not change at all or may not change as far as we expect it to. It is also worth bearing in mind that the fewer years a lease has left, the more expensive a lease extension is, which may offset any savings anyway under any new reforms. At the moment, if any leaseholders are considering extending their leases, they should speak to their solicitor as soon as possible, as there may be some people that will benefit from extending their leases now, regardless as to what happens to the law in the future.
Excellent. Thank you very much to the both of you. If anyone has any questions, please do either pop them in the comment section below or get in touch with either myself, Helen, or Signe. And I hope to see you all again next week. Take care.